let's move on to our next example. First, in order to clear the build plate, we can select our model and hit the delete key. Then I will go back to Thingiverse and look for my new model. This is a very popular model, and so I know it will print. You can see that there are 2,000 makes, so 2,000 people have made this and then uploaded a picture of their created model. And there are 700 comments. In the summary, you can read what the creator has to say about the model, and you can look at the print settings. No raft, no supports, infill 20%. Says some users reported problems using less than 20%, but 20% prints fine. Once again, we can go into the files and select specifically which models we want. I have already downloaded the files, so I'll go to the slicer. Open files. You can see that there are several files in here for this model. I'm going to actually open all of them so we can take our pick after we see them loaded in. This model has a lot of polygons, so it is causing the slicer to chug a little bit or lag a little bit. We've got a waving Groot here that's all together. I'm going to delete that. And our Groot model, again, merged. Delete that. So I believe I will want this split up into multiple parts so that we can avoid using support material. I'll actually select all of them and delete because I think that I know which models I want to use. Based on that, I'm going to use head with brim, lower detail, and body lower detail. I'm going to shift select those and open. In this case, we're going to want to reorient the model once more. Again, you can go to the rotate tool, and that's what I'll go ahead and do this time. You can always undo what your action is using the Control-Z button. And I'm going to move these so that they both sit nicely on the build plate together. I don't really need to turn this, but I want to be able to see it from the front of the 3D printer. This is the back, so I can check on the front detail. You can see there are some spots where the slicer wants to add support material. Once again, I'm going to go based on what the modeler said and avoid using supports. However, we will still go over all of the settings, make sure they are exactly as we want them to be. Make sure we aren't holding over anything from our last model that we don't want to use those settings. So quality, 0.2 is still good. Walls, 3, we're happy with that. I don't need to change top and bottom thickness. Infill, this shows 10%. And this says to use 20%. So I'm going to change that to 20%. Material 205, that should work. Speed is unchanged. Travel is unchanged. Cooling is unchanged. Support material, we want that unselected. and build plate adhesion. I'm going to deselect the brim here because this has a brim included on the model. So now that we've gone over all of our settings, we'll go ahead and slice and see how long it will take, how much material we'll use, and we can look through on the preview and make sure this looks how we like. All right, now that the slicing is finished, we can see that it's going to take 9 hours and 59 minutes and use 118 grams of filament. Let me just look in the preview. We can scrub through and see that 20% is quite a high amount of infill. You can also see how deep the peg goes, or the hole for the peg goes into the body. I see the 3 walls. Everything looked good to me. Now we've sliced our second model.